It started with a spreadsheet error, a rounding discrepancy in the environmental compliance report that shouldn't have been there. I sent a polite inquiry to my manager, thinking it was a clerical oversight. He didn't reply for 3 days. When he finally did, it wasn't an explanation. It was a calendar invite for a check-in with a senior partner I'd never met. The office felt the same, the hum of the servers, the smell of burnt coffee, but the air seemed thinner. Every time I passed the HR wing, the glass doors felt more like a barrier than an entrance. I looked at the data again. It wasn't an error, it was a redirection of funds. I hit forward to the ethics hotline, my finger hovering over the mouse. The email went out at 5:01 p.m. The read receipt arrived, but the name on it wasn't anyone in compliance. The next morning, my login credentials failed. A system maintenance pop-up that felt too specific. By noon, I was summoned to conference room B, the one without windows. Sarah from HR was already there, flanked by a man in a navy suit who didn't introduce himself. They didn't ask about the funds. They asked about my performance review from 3 years ago. They brought up a late expense report from a trip to Chicago I'd forgotten about. Every question was a needle, stitching a narrative of instability. I tried to bring up the spreadsheet, the ethics report, the law. Sarah just smiled, a practiced, empty expression that never reached her eyes. She pushed a folder across the table, thick with papers I hadn't authored. The tension in the room was a physical weight, pressing against my chest. The door locked from the outside, and the HR director hadn't even opened her laptop yet. When I finally left that room, my desk was already being cleared. Not by me, but by 2 men in gray uniforms I didn't recognize. My coworkers didn't look up. Mark, who I'd had lunch with every day for 4 years, was suddenly very interested in his dual monitor setup. The silence was louder than any shouting. I reached for my phone, but the service had been disconnected. Company plan, company control. I walked toward the elevators, my heart hammering a rhythm of pure panic. I needed to call the board, the press, anyone. But the building felt like it was shrinking, the walls closing in to squeeze me out. I was a virus the system was successfully identifying and neutralizing. I reached the lobby, feeling the cool air of the street calling to me like a ghost. My badge worked at the front door, but the elevator wouldn't recognize my floor. They offered me the package. 6 months of salary in exchange for a total non-disparagement agreement. A clean break, they called it. Sarah's voice was like velvet, smooth and suffocating. She spoke about cultural fit and evolving roles, as if she were reading a weather report. The truth was being overwritten in real time. My whistleblowing wasn't a hero's journey, it was a line item being reconciled. They had my emails, my browser history, even the draft of the letter I'd started to my lawyer. Everything was leverage. I realized then that HR doesn't protect people. It protects the entity from the people. I looked at the pen, a heavy silver thing that felt like a weapon. If I signed, the error stayed. If I didn't, I'd be buried in litigation until I was bankrupt. The signature line was blank, but the date at the top was already 3 days in the past. In the end, I signed. Not for the money, but for the silence. To make the shadows stop following me. I walked out of the building for the last time with a cardboard box and a sense of profound emptiness. The company didn't collapse. No one went to jail. The error was absorbed into a larger quarterly loss that the analysts barely noticed. The machine just adjusted its gears and kept turning. My name was removed from the directory, my files deleted, my keycard deactivated. It was as if I'd never existed at all. That's the real corporate drama. Not the betrayal itself, but the ease with which the world continues without you. The system is designed to survive the truth. The next morning, a new name appeared on the directory for my desk, and the stock price opened 2 points higher.